Hello everyone, Mr. Lipchick here, and our topic of discussion for this segment will be elasticity of demand. Okay, what is elasticity of demand? It's best understood by comparing elastic versus inelastic demand. Elastic demand is demand for a product that is very sensitive to changes in price. When you think of elastic, you think of something that is stretchable, that will shrink and it will expand, and that is the same for the demand of a good that is sensitive to price. Inelastic demand is demand for a product that is not very sensitive to a change in price. Now, all goods have a certain degree of elasticity, but with an inelastic demand, it is very small. Elasticity of demand is a measure of how consumers react to a change in price for a product. How do you calculate elasticity of demand? Elasticity is equal to the percent change in the quantity demanded divided by the percent change in the price. Okay, so you're looking at a ratio. You're comparing changes. Okay, how much does this thing change in relation to price change? Okay, simple ratio you can put together. If the elasticity of demand is less than 1, demand for a product is called inelastic. Changes in price will have little effect on demand for this item. If the elasticity of demand is greater than 1, demand for a product is said to be elastic. Changes in price will significantly affect demand for this item. Okay, take a look at a chart here on the left. In this case, okay, when the price of an item goes up by 33%, that is 75 cents to $1, as you can see over here, okay, the quantity demanded changes by 66%, okay, this large gap here from 9 to 3. So, demand elasticity is 66% divided by 33%, which is 2.0. And because the elasticity is greater than 1, this product is said to have elastic demand. All right. In this case here, when the price increased from 50 cents down here up to $1.50, okay, demand falls by 40%. Okay, very steep slope here. Okay, so it goes from 5 items to 3. So demand elasticity in this case, it was 400%. Okay, increases from 50 cents to $1.50. That would be a 400% increase. Demand falls by 40%. So the elasticity is 40% over 400% equals 0.1. That's less than 1. And because demand elasticity is less than 1, demand for this item is said to be inelastic. Unitary elastic demand is when demand elasticity for an item is exactly equal to 1. For example, no matter where you are on this curve, demand changes by the same percentage with price. This doesn't occur that frequently. It's important to keep in mind that in reality, demand is usually not perfectly elastic or inelastic. For most products, elasticity changes according to the price range. At low prices, price increases have little effect on demand, but this usually changes as prices reach higher levels. So, if a slice of pizza is a quarter, and it goes up to 50 cents, even though that's a 100% price increase, it's such a small amount of money, you're probably not going to pay much attention to it. You're still going to buy your pizza, okay? But at higher levels, okay, when the price range is at higher levels, these changes will have more impact because they are more noticeable to you, and they are having a greater impact on your real income. So what are the factors affecting elasticity? The availability of substitutes will affect demand elasticity. The lack of good substitutes, such as with life-saving medicines, make the demand for a good inelastic. No matter how much it costs, you're going to try to buy it. In the case of food, such as pizza, demand is usually elastic because of the availability of substitutes. There are, a numerous number of substitute foods. The relative importance of a good within your budget also affects its elasticity of demand. If you spend a large portion of your budget on a good, a price increase will cause you to cut back on consumption, making demand elastic. If an item is an insignificant portion of your budget, such as table salt, large changes in price will not affect your consumption, making demand inelastic. So, for instance, if they had a big sale on table salt and said, instead of buying a pound of table salt, you could buy 10 pounds for the same price, very few people would run out and buy 10 pounds because it's a small part of your budget. You don't use very much of it. Therefore, demand is inelastic. Necessities versus luxuries. If a person considers a good to be a necessity, their demand for it will be inelastic. If a person considers a good to be a luxury, their demand for it will be elastic. They will tighten their belts when the budget gets tough or it gets too expensive. There are considerable variations in what individual consumers consider luxuries or necessities. I may consider it a necessity to buy, fresh chicken. You might consider that a luxury and buy frozen chicken to save money. Change over time will affect demand elasticity. Consumers cannot always respond quickly to changes in price, making their demand inelastic in the short term. Substitutes are not always immediately available. So, a change in price takes place. It's something, that no one has developed an adequate substitute. Your demand for it is going to be elastic or inelastic. However, when a substitute emerges, you will probably go and buy that substitute. So initially it'll be inelastic, and then as the substitute comes available, your demand will be more elastic because you have an alternative. Over time, most people find substitutes and demand for the product becomes elastic. Hydrogen fuel cell cars are now a reality. Hydrogen fueling stations exist on major highways in California. How might this eventually affect the price of gasoline? Well, if this becomes popular enough and available enough in the long term, the demand for gasoline might become somewhat elastic. All right, natural gas powered vehicles, alternative fuel, mixed fuel vehicles might have the same effect. Although gas at the current time is pretty inelastic because people need it to travel to work, and they will pay large sums of money because they really don't have a choice. Okay, elasticity and revenue. Total revenue is the total amount of money that a firm receives by selling goods and services. It is determined by the price of the good and the quantity sold. If the product has an elastic demand, raising the price may decrease the total revenue. So price increases may not always be a good idea. Customers may find substitute goods. and the good may be perceived as a luxury. If there is inelastic demand for a product, raising the price will increase revenues, as price will not have much effect on the quantity sold. The higher prices will make up for any unsold items. Elasticity and pricing. Businesses must know if demand for their product is elastic or inelastic. If it is elastic, they must be careful when raising prices so as not to affect the quantity demanded to such a degree that they lose money instead of making more. If it is inelastic, they can increase prices without greatly affecting demand for the product. However, lowering the price will not increase demand by very much. So to review, when demand for an item changes in response to price level, it is said to be elastic. When demand for an item is unresponsive to changes in price, it is inelastic. The elasticity of items may vary at different ranges on the demand curve. And the availability of substitutes will affect elasticity, as well as if a person considers a good a luxury or a necessity. Items which may be inelastic in the short run may be elastic in the long run. That concludes our discussion. Thank you for viewing, and I look forward to seeing you in the live lesson. Have a great day.